Tanks, tanks, tanks. There is perhaps no symbol greater of modern warfare than the tank. And in this video, we are going to take a look at some of the most ridiculously oversized tanks that have ever been designed. From the monstrous Landkreuzer P 1000 Ratte, a tank so big it makes a house look like a bloody dollhouse, to the Panzer VIII Mouse, a tank so heavy it could crush a small car like a grape and probably did. We'll explore the brilliant, the bonkers, and the downright barmy world of oversized tanks. So, buckle up, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. Now, before we dive into the really crazy stuff, let's establish a baseline. And what better baseline than the American M1 Abrams? This thing is the gold standard of modern main battle tanks, still prowling battlefields today. Weighing in at a hefty 62 metric tons, it's about the same as 49 Toyota Corollas, or if you prefer, a small herd of elephants. And it needs that weight because it's packing some serious heat. We're talking a 105mm cannon. That's bigger than most people's arm. And just for good measure, it's got 3 machine guns scattered around because, you know, one big gun isn't always enough. All this firepower doesn't come cheap, mind you. Each M1 Abrams sets you back a cool $8.92 million. But hey, if you want to win wars, you've got to spend a bit of dough, right? Now, some of you might think the Abrams is big, and it is by modern standards. But step back in time to World War I and you'll find the Char 2C, a tank so big it makes the Abrams look like a toy. This French behemoth was the brainchild of a desperate nation, designed in the trenches of World War I. It weighed a whopping 69 tons and was longer than a London bus, stretching over 10 meters. Armed with a 75mm cannon and enough machine guns to make a gangster blush, it was designed to steamroll enemy trenches and win the war for France. But there was just one problem. They only built 10 of them. By the time the first one lumbered out of the factory, the war was already over. Talk about bad timing. Still, the Char 2C remains a testament to French engineering and their love of all things large. Speaking of bad timing, let's talk about the K-Wagen. This German tank was so ludicrously oversized that it made the Char 2C look like a smart car. Imagine a tank so big it couldn't even fit on a bloody train in one piece. That's the K-Wagen for you. This 120-ton monster was designed to be the ultimate trench-crossing, enemy-crushing war machine. It was armed to the teeth with 4 77mm cannons and 7 machine guns because, well, why not? They even considered adding flamethrowers. But alas, it was all for naught. The war ended before the K-Wagen could even fire a shot in anger. The only completed prototype sat unused, a testament to German ambition and the folly of over-engineering. Now, if you thought the previous tanks were big, buckle up because things are about to get really heavy. I'm talking about the Panzer VIII Mouse, a tank so heavy it makes a sumo wrestler look like a ballerina. This German behemoth tipped the scales at a mind-boggling 188 tons. That's heavier than 3 blue whales. This thing was so big it couldn't cross most bridges without sending them crashing into the river below. And if it did have to cross a river, forget about bridges. This thing just drove straight in, using a snorkel to breathe underwater like some kind of metal hippopotamus. But the real kicker? The Mouse packed a 128mm cannon that could knock out an enemy tank from over 2 miles away. It was a technological marvel, but also a logistical nightmare. And now, for the main event, the daddy of all oversized tanks, the one and only Landkreuzer P 1000 Ratte. This German behemoth was so ludicrously oversized, it makes all the other tanks on this list look like toy cars. This thing was an absolute monster, weighing in at a mind-boggling 1,000 tons. That's heavier than a whole herd of elephants, a jumbo jet, and a small island combined. Seriously, this thing was so big, it would have needed its own postcode. Armed with a pair of 280mm naval guns, the same kind used on battleships, it could have leveled a city block with a single salvo. It also had a 128mm anti-tank gun, just in case it ran into any feisty tanks that thought they could take it on. Oh, and did I mention the 8 anti-aircraft guns, the 2 scouting motorcycles, the onboard medical bay, and the bathroom? Yes, you heard that right. This tank had its own bloody bathroom. It was the ultimate expression of German over-engineering, a tank so ambitious it bordered on the insane. Now, you might be thinking that all of this German obsession with oversized tanks won them the war. But you'd be wrong. In fact, it was a relatively small and unassuming tank that ultimately led to their downfall, the Soviet T-34. This little tank, often overlooked in the annals of history, was a masterpiece of simplicity and effectiveness. It wasn't as big or as heavily armed as the German behemoths, but it was fast, reliable, and easy to produce. And in the vast plains of the Eastern Front, quantity often trumped quality. The Germans learned this the hard way at the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Thousands of T-34s swarmed the German lines, overwhelming their larger and more complex tanks. It was a turning point in the war, and a stark reminder that bigger isn't always better. Sometimes the best tank is the one that's actually built, deployed, and most importantly, effective. This wild experimentation of tank design could well have cost Germany the war. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating military history.